Welcome everyone to MVY Radio's Rock and Roll Book Club. People are still coming in, so welcome, welcome. Thanks for coming. For those who don't know me, I'm Polly Simpkins, and I'm a DJ here at MVY Radio and host of MVY Radio's Rock and Roll Book Club. Want to say a few thank yous first to Joe, our tech support. And if you have your sound on, just mute yourself so we don't hear you. But Joe, this is number 15 for us. So we've been doing this a while now, and we were talking about how many years, and Joe just does it also seamlessly. And as Joe always does, just makes it seem like he's doing nothing at all. So thank you to him for the tech support. Thank you to Todd Carley, who is our webmaster, who manages the web page. Thanks to Jay Harper, who does graphics for the Rock and Roll Book Club and is also our traffic director, and we love him. Huge thanks to PJ Finn, who supports this project along with all of my MVY colleagues who talk about it and make sure that I feel supported. So thank you to all of them for that. And thanks to our sponsor, Brewster Bookstore, a wonderful independent bookstore on Cape Cod. We love them. They are sponsors of Rock and Roll Book Club, and we're grateful to them and all of our indie bookstores for keeping books that we love readily available. If you guys are just joining, there's lots of people still joining. If you're just coming, I'm Polly Simpkins. We're about to get started, just saying some thank yous. I just wanted to mention everyone at home who's watching this, that a recording of it. I always forget to say thank you for watching and for appreciating Rock and Roll Book Club at mvyradio.org/book club. You can find all other 14 book clubs along with my audio interviews of all of the authors. And it's an honor to be here and to be part of this. Tonight we're reading the wonderful book by Tom Piazza, Living in the Present with John Prine. But I wanted to mention before we get started, we're going to take a break for summertime as we always do, and we're going to resume our Rock and Roll Book Club on September 23rd. And we're going to be reading this book, which is one of my new faves. It's called Lazarus, The Second Coming of David Bowie. And it's really good. And I love the author, Alexander Larman. And it's a great beach read. And it's all about the second half of David Bowie's life, like coming back from a difficult time and reinventing himself one last time, which resulted in Black Star, as we know. And if you're new to Rock and Roll Book Club, again, for those who are just joining, I'm Polly Simpkins. Thank you for tuning in. You can keep your camera on or off. There's a lot of people cooking dinner and hanging out. There's people in their cars, so it doesn't matter. The format typically is that I show a 15-minute video, and this is a little backstory in case you haven't read the book. That's why it doesn't matter if you've read it when you come. It's a little backstory and some clips of some snippets from my interview with Tom Piazza. So you get a real sense of the book before we discuss. But before we get started with that video, I wanted to welcome Ian Wheeler here. And if you were at our last Rock and Roll Book Club, where we read the name of this band is REM, Ian Wheeler was one of our guests that was going to be there that night. And he has a film. I'm not sure when it's coming out, but it's really cool and it's REM related. So he is here tonight. And before we get the video started, I thought we would just take a minute to hear about his film and welcome him. So thanks for coming, Ian.
Thanks so much, Polly. I'm so sorry I missed the last one. I have two young daughters, and this time of day is usually the worst, or the best, but
The
I'm
witching
sorry I
hour.
missed it. But yeah, happy to share about the film. It's you guys have read the book, so you probably read about Burtis Downs, who was REM's manager. Um, Definitely for the last three-quarters of their career, but I'd been bugging Burtis for years, like, let's do a doc, let's do something. We can't let the memory of this band kind of die out. And they just couldn't find the right idea. We just couldn't find the right thing. Meanwhile, the actor Michael Shannon had been doing kind of cover shows, like different random bands like Big Black or The Replacements. He was doing them in Chicago, and it was kind of he was doing them in between films to blow off steam. And so he did REM. I want to say it was 4 years ago. They played an REM show in Chicago, and the promoter just kind of lost it. He was like, "This is the greatest thing I've ever seen." Some video, that people took with their phones spread around the internet, and other promoters started hearing about it, and they wanted to book the band. So they did a tour, and that's when we started filming. We just felt like this is such a weird and unique thing to have Michael Shannon go out and it was selling tickets. The venues weren't that big, but it was like something a baby band would be really excited about. So they did that tour. It went great. They did another tour. The rooms doubled in size. It kept growing. We're filming them. And at some point, the REM guys noticed. Mike Mills shows up at a show in Portland, Oregon, and he's kind of like, this is cool. Like, I'm really fascinated by this. And he was also just very moved. Peter Buck shows up at another show, and and then we go to Athens, Georgia, and uh, the entire REM band is in Athens. Um, and at that point, we witness Michael Stipe and Michael Shannon meeting for the first time. Um, and then we see REM kind of accidentally walk out on stage of the 40 Watt and play a song with the cover band. And so it's they're reuniting for the first time in many years. They said they would never reunite. And the REM guys all love each other very much. I think they never wanted to be, these old guys like the Rolling Stones or something where they, visibly look old playing a young person's songs. Um, and they just didn't want to put that out in the world. And so when they broke up, it was very kind of uh peaceful and nice. And but yeah, there was something very unfinished about their breakup. And certainly, for music fans, I mean, they are one of the most important rock bands of all time. Without REM, there's no Radiohead, there's no, any number of other bands that follow. um and so, there's something unfinished there. And when they all get on stage at the 40 Watt, there's this resolution. Um, there's a twist in the film, which is there's a woman named Christy Bush who was REM's photographer for their whole career. If you've seen the Night Swimming music video, you've seen Christy naked. She's a big part of kind of the history of the band. Um, so I won't give away too much, but there's this amazing love story that happens in our movie, on screen. We're
Mm.
filming the whole thing, and it culminates in a wedding at Michael Stipe's house. And so, yeah, the other thing is that when we started filming, Michael Shannon's going through a divorce. He's in kind of, a weird place, and through playing these songs, he really heals himself. At the same time, he's healing Michael Stipe and Mike Mills and Peter Buck and Bill Berry, who needed a lot of healing. Um, and so, yeah, we're in the edit on this film now. We're gonna have it done in the fall, and submitted to all the festivals, and we'll do like a pretty healthy festival run next year, followed by a theatrical release. So, we're really
Awesome. That sounds
excited about it.
incredible. And for those of you who are still joining, this is Ian Wheeler, and he came from last. We read the name of this band is REM 2 months ago, and we had a very deep dive and discussion. And then Ian, also, I should have talked about your background with you have a record company and all kinds of cool independent audio. I'm not exactly sure what you do, but if you'd like to let us know what your companies
The,
are.
the last thing we did a podcast about Fela Kuti, that just won the Peabody Award. I'll give
Oh,
that a
is that
plug.
right?
It did, yeah. Yeah, it's called Fela Kuti, Fear No Man. And it's great. It's very relevant to what's happening now in the US. It's political. It's filled with the best music you've ever heard. Um, yeah, we're really proud of it.
That's awesome. Well, we so appreciate you, and thanks for, I know that it's time for your kids to go to bed, so thanks for taking time out and sharing about the film. And what do you know what the name of the film will be yet?
I'm not
Or is
sure.
that
We always save
okay?
names for last. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Good to know. But so everyone listening knows, Ian Wheeler's film about REM and Michael Shannon and the cool just confluence of events that happened, it sounds like, where you caught the magic on film will be coming out probably next year around this
Yeah.
time or
Yep.
okay, awesome. Thank you so much. We'll be looking for it. Maybe we could have you back and
I'd love that. Yeah, and I'm so bummed to miss the John Prine talk. He's one of my favorites. I have lots of John Prine stories, but I'll save those for
he
another
is the
time.
best. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
thank you really. Thanks for your time. It's great seeing you again.
Thank you guys. Be well.
Okay, see you later. Okay, everyone, if you're just joining, I'm Polly Simpkins, and we're going to get started now. I thought people who are just joining must be like, wait, is this the right book? But yes, we are reading this beautiful book by Tom Piazza. We're going to watch a 15-minute film with some clips from my interview with Tom, and Tom's going to stop by. He told me he's at a retreat, I think, of some kind, and after the film, he's going to stop in case we have questions for him or just to thank him for his book. So all of that to come. Thank you for being here. And thanks for being part of MVY Radio. And without further ado, let's start the little film.
John Prine was born on October 10, 1946 in Maywood, Illinois, where he was raised by a family with deep roots in Paradise, Kentucky. He began his musical journey as a mailman, composing songs on his delivery route before being discovered by Chris Christopherson in the late 1960s. In 1971, he released his self-titled debut studio album, and over a prolific 5-decade career, Prine released 18 studio albums and several live recordings, including his Grammy-nominated Tree of Forgiveness, Bruised Orange, Lost Dogs and Mixed Blessings, and John Prine Live. John Prine is one of the most beloved storytellers in American folk and country music, and he died on April 7, 2020, in Nashville at the age of 73. Tom Piazza is an award-winning novelist, music journalist, and screenwriter, known for his pulsating and lyrical prose. Based in New Orleans, his work often explores American identity as the author of Why New Orleans Matters and as principal writer for the HBO series Treme. John Prine and Tom Piazza first connected in the spring of 2018 when Piazza wrote a profile piece about John for Oxford American magazine. They famously bonded during a Florida road trip in Prine's 1977 cherry red Cadillac Coupe de Ville, sharing a love for hot dogs, antique malls, and old music. The book Living in the Present with John Prine chronicles a deep, unexpected friendship formed in the final 2 years of the legendary songwriter's life. I recently sat down with Tom and had a few minutes to talk with him about what made their friendship so special and what made John Prine the legend he was, both on the stage and off, a songwriter that will be forever loved and missed by his friends, family, and fans.
We have Tom Piazza here today with his amazing book, Living in the Present with John Prine, which is completely dog-eared on my end because it was so good. And it's one of those like, gotta underline that. So welcome to MVY Radio's Rock and Roll Book Club. And huge thanks to Tony DeSabato, who actually recommended that we read your book because he had read it and loved it. And Steve Citron, who also works at the station, who connected us. So I wanted to get started with going back to that moment when you were at the Sanger Theater and he was playing Mexican Home and you kind of had a moment. And I can read the passage where you said, which I love, it occurred to me right then that I might want to write something about him, although I wasn't sure just what or why. So I was wondering if you could just take us back to that moment and what you saw and how, because I feel like this relationship was meant to be. And I think there are people who come into our lives for a reason. And it just seemed like you both were at the perfect point in your lives for this to happen. So Take us back to how that started, the seed started to be sown.
Well, depends how far back you want to go. I mean, my better half, Mary, was raised in southeastern Missouri, cotton country, and they had like a little farm enclave out there that they've had in their family for generations. And she has two brothers, great guys. Got very lucky with the brothers-in-law. And so one of them, Stokes Howell, is, I mean, a world-class John Prine fan. But I didn't know it at that time. I mean, when I came to John kind of late, you know. I'd heard a couple of songs, sort of knew what they were, but I'd go to the farm and I'd play guitar and sing, you know. And so we'd sit around and playing songs, and he'd play a song once in a while, and I'd go, damn, well, you know, what was that? That was a good song. He said, "That was John Prine." I was like, John Prine, okay. And he'd do another song, you know, "Please Don't Bury Me Down in That Cold, Cold Ground." I was like, whoa, what was that? That was John Prine. I said, well, I'm getting tired of hearing about this guy, John Prine, you know. Anyway, so he was kind of lodged in my mind, and I'd learned a few of his songs, you know. And, but then he came, well, what you mentioned to me before, he came to the Sanger Theater in New Orleans, and I said to Mary, my better half, you know, why don't we go see John Prine and see what this is? And in person. And so we did that. And it was amazing. Now, John, I'm sure you know, I don't know if all the listeners or viewers know, John had some really serious health challenges in his life. He had neck or throat cancer back in the late 90s, and then he had lung cancer in 2013, and both times just was like, the hell with this, man. Okay, when do I get back out again and on the road and performing and just being? At any rate, I knew about that when we went to see him in, I guess that was 2016. And it was just, there was something about that guy on stage alone. And, you know, he was a handsome dude when, you know, back in the day, he was, a good looking cat. And then all of a sudden we went to see him there, and he was an old man, you know, with a big paunch and yet still showing up on stage and delivering, which to me, that's what as an artist, that's what you're supposed to do, you know, whether it's stage, a desk, canvas, whatever it might be. So, we left and we just were like, man, that was really something. And then 2 years later, this was, February, I guess, of 2018, he was coming back to New Orleans to play at the Orpheum Theater. And so I got in touch with management and made arrangements to meet him and maybe do an article. And so that's what we ended up doing. And we went to the Orpheum, and John's wife, wonderful human named Fiona Whalen Prine, came to get us out in the audience afterwards and brought us backstage. And it was just like, I don't know, it was one of those things that sometimes just clicks, you know, and we just, we started getting a kick out of each other like immediately.
Going back to Chicago just a little bit, I'm interested in, he talks about, and you were good about it with him. You were like, you know, some people are going to want to know like kind of the basics, so we have to at least go there. So, but he talked about gymnastics and his brother Dave playing the fiddle, and that place, Old Town School of Music, where Doc Watson was teaching, and going to the art class, then Elizabeth Cotton and the Carter family, and this music coming into his life. And he talks about one specific time he was watching Dylan, who of course figures prominently on TV, and he sang that Lonesome Death of Hattie Carroll, and he called it an implosion, and this like crazy moment where he was like, oh my gosh, that's songwriting. And I was just wondering if you could speak to that type of, you know, those moments in all of our lives where we hear music that breaks us open like that, and what that might have been like for him.
It's a good way of putting it. Breaks us open.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, in general, I think most people who become actively creative people, which is to say, whether professionally or with a passion, even if it's private or, I think most people who go that route have probably had some kind of implosive or explosive, moment like that. A kind of where something that is between you and something else falls away, and there's I had a number of those moments in my
Yes,
life.
I'd love to hear any of yours that come to mind.
Okay. I could tell you the story. It's funny. It's really off the designated topic, but who cares? So when I was very, very young, this must be maybe I was 11, something like that. I was really okay. So I was 8 years old when the Beatles came to America.
Wow.
You could do the math. I ain't doing it for you. So anyway, so I was 8 years old when they came to the U.S. and like everybody else, I just got swept away. So I was a big Beatles fan. But the thing was, the Beatles always did tunes, as I'm sure know, and many of the people watching or listening probably know. I mean, he did all these songs by Chuck. I mean, the Beatles did all these songs that have been written and performed by Chuck Berry, Carl Perkins, Little Richard. So I became this total, sort of old rock and roll head at the age of whatever I was, 10 or 11, maybe less, maybe 9 or 10. It doesn't matter. But but the thing was, on the back of the Chuck Berry records, Chuck Berry would talk about meeting this guy, Muddy Waters, Muddy Waters. So I was like, well, who's Muddy Waters? So I started investigating Muddy Waters, but not so much Muddy even as the Paul Butterfield Blues Band, just a lot of stuff in that vein. But I got this one record, The Best of Muddy Waters, on Chess Records, and I put it on, and I was so disappointed at first. I was like, this doesn't sound anything like the Paul Butterfield Blues Band. This is like Muddy Waters just playing this electric guitar in a very stripped down kind of style, and a bass, and maybe little Walter playing harmonica there. I was like, what is this? This seems strange to me. I was kind of like, man, I thought it was going to be like rock and roll, blues infused rock and roll, right? So I kind of put it up and I went to sleep. And then like the next day I went down, maybe it was after school or something. I put the record on again. I figured, well, let me hear it. And it was Louisiana Blues, because the Blues Project had done a version of that song, very up tempo. But I put it on the slow version, and it was Little Walter, and I guess it was Willie Dixon on bass, and I was like, suddenly I was like, oh. It was almost like I felt like I was being made a new person or something. Not in the sense of being able to perform that way or be that person, but just like something shifted in my relation to. We're getting pretty metaphysical here. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
No,
Really.
I love it. It's great. I think you really articulate what it feels like. I wanted to read this quick quote that you wrote of his that I think is so beautiful. And this is Jason Wilbur talking. John's show wasn't good because his vocal intonation was perfect, or his guitar technique was perfect, or his guitar was perfectly in tune, or because he was making no mistakes. Quite the contrary, but it didn't matter because his ability to deliver the rest of it, the emotional part, was so in the stratosphere that none of that shit mattered. So I think that's so beautiful and speaks to the magic of John Prine.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you wouldn't mind just speaking to Jason and that interview with him and John's presence on stage.
Yeah, of course, I had gotten to know Jason somewhat while John was still alive, and he came to, I mean, I met him on a number of occasions, especially this one occasion uh, where I brought Elvis Costello down to John's
Oh,
house for
right.
dinner, and John wanted to, and Joe Henry was there, a great producer, and just it was maybe six people, seven people there, and Jason came by, and Jason later filled in some of the details of what that. Well, John had this jukebox that he wanted to show off for us, this sort of old jukebox that had been given to him by Steve Goodman. And Jason told me, so he didn't need to tell me when we were there. John wanted to turn the jukebox on, and he did, and it caught fire, and there was all this smoke billowing on the back of it. And I asked Jason about it later, and Jason said he asked John about that later, and he said that John thought about it. He said, "Yeah, as I remember, that's what happened last time I tried to turn it on."
Oh,
You
that's
know,
classic.
it was classic. And Jason was full of good stories like that, but also just Jason's just such a great guy. Everybody I met, I can't think of anybody I met in my time around John, who wasn't a terrific person,
Mm.
who wasn't worth knowing, who wasn't generous spirited. And that, by the way, I would like to say this, that goes for the fans.
Mm.
People, you know, being on, maybe I'm going too far afield, but I just want to say this. When I went on the book tour last fall for Living in the Present, everybody I met was cool. By cool, I don't mean like Miles Davis cool. I mean like down home for real people who loved John Prine and responded, I guess, in the way that you do, to the warmth and the um, genuineness that was there in John. And so I don't know how many books I signed and am still signing, and I still get letters literally every week, one or two of these, every week from somebody who had read the book and loved it. That doesn't happen all the time. And so everybody attached to John, everybody who worked for him, all the cats that played with him, Fats Kaplan, Dave Jakes, Kenneth Blevins. I mean, these are beautiful people. And Jason was always so welcoming to me and kind to me.
Oh my gosh, it's like magic. And there's Tom Piazza.
Hi, Polly.
Hi, Tom. For those who for those who are just joining, we just watched a video, and we're running a tiny bit late because we had a special guest at the very beginning. But welcome to Tom Piazza. I think you caught kind of the very end of that, but a wonderful exploration of some of the clips. We started off with some back history of John and your relationship and you and your work. So welcome, welcome, and thank you for taking time out of what you're doing for us.
Sure. Well, it's my pleasure, Polly, and it was so much fun talking to you. So I figured I'd come back for a second helping. It's got to be a very short time.
No problem.
I'm at this writer's residency in Virginia, and for whatever reason, the group, because usually you have anywhere between 10 and 20 people, has just been so lovely, and everybody's starting to leave. So I've kind of ducked out a little bit, and I'll have to get back. But I wanted to see folks and say hi.
Oh, thank you so much. And I know how that feels when and you're kind of just ducking out. And since you only have a few minutes, is there anyone who has a question um, for Tom or anything to say about his book before he goes? Tony, go
And
ahead.
Polly, should I be able to see everybody? I can see you and I can sort of see me, but I mean, should I be able to see folks or
I think once
how do I do?
Tony starts, either you can choose gallery view on your computer, or I think when Tony has his question in just a minute, he'll pop up.
Hi, Tom. This is
Okay.
Tony DeSabato. I don't really have a question, but I just want to tell you the story of my discovering the book. I walked into my my neighborhood bookstore here in Norwood, Pennsylvania, and I looked at the book, and the owner of the store said, "I love John Prine, and I love this book," and so I had to pick it up. And the anecdotes and the vignettes in the book are just wonderful. But the thing that really shines through is the mutual warmth between the two of you, and the way you kind of galvanize the relationship. I'm a real relationship person, and that was beautiful to read about and to witness in your book. So thank you very much.
Man, well, thank you, Tony. What a great, what a great thing to say. Thank you. I'm glad if that's the effect that it had. I do hear sometimes from people that they felt like they were in the room with John, and I was just lucky, I guess, to be physically there. He was everything you sort of would think he was. You know, he was one of a kind. But thank you for your good words, man.
Thank you so much. And we don't want to keep you, so if you have to go.
If anybody has any other questions, I can take another couple,
Yeah. Oh,
three,
good. Okay, great.
10. No, this guy, I do have to scoot, but seriously, I want to engage, for God's sake. You guys are all the way over is that Martha's Vineyard that I'm looking at there?
Yes. Yep.
There's
Martha's
a little
Vineyard.
seascape that I saw.
That's Joe. He's our
Everybody's
technical.
like, okay.
Yeah, does
Hey,
anybody
Joe,
else,
what's happening?
anything else, anyone else wants to say? We have a lot of people here. Lots of people are making dinner and listening in and just kind of with one
Oh,
ear,
okay.
which is totally fine
Okay.
too. But yeah, if anybody else, while we have the great Tom Piazza here, go ahead, Missy.
Hey, Missy,
Oh, hold on. You have to
can't
unmute.
hear.
Yeah, unmute.
There
You caught me when you used the phrase deflated soccer ball to describe John. I thought, okay.
Thank you. You just made my night.
Oh, good.
I it was one of those images that just kind of, yeah, it was sort of what it looked like. And I never had to feel bad about it. It was kind of because it was. And John wasn't really vain, and he liked a good laugh. And that was just sort of thank you for saying that. I always like it if somebody notices some little thing I did. Thanks.
Thanks, Missy. And we actually have a question in the chat, and the question is for you, Tom.
Okay.
What do you think caused the relationship to blossom so quickly between you and John? It's a good question.
It is a good question. It's probably an unanswerable question, or I mean, maybe that's too facile. Let me see if I can actually. I don't know. We had similar senses of humor. We had, obviously, we both loved playing music. We both loved just, spending an afternoon driving around, going to antique stores, just doing nothing. We I don't know how you characterize that, but it was always fun being with them, and we had fun being with each other, and we liked playing music together. That was a big thing. In it. But there's also, to whoever asked the question, I mean, there's always this kind of X factor or something that it's not really reducible, like why do you walk into a room and see somebody, for the first time and just kind of go, I'm going to marry that person, or, usually with disastrous results, but let's not go there. No, but you know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's just a thing that's, it just clicks, and it just clicked with me and John, and it's, and I'm sure you all know it's not automatic at this stage of life, and so I felt so fortunate, but I don't know. I mean, the shared sense of humor, the love of music, the enjoyment of food, having laughs, trying to crack each other up. all that stuff. We're sort of like, I mean, Fiona, John's wife, Fiona, basically said we were like a couple of kids when we got together.
I love
And that's
that.
always nice to be able to go back into the, you know, that place in
I
yourself.
feel like also like when you talk about in the book how there was they were sizing you, you said, I can't remember now how you said it, but I we talked about it in the interview, how he was a good read. He knew how to read people fast, and I think he liked you
That's
right
what
away.
Fiona said. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Fiona said that. And then I think the moment where he gave you Steve Goodman's guitar, I thought that was a real turning point because he was like, it was like you were almost like little boys, but he was like saying, I trust you with this. And that was one of the most
Yeah. Yeah.
important things
You
that he had
want to hold
shared with
Mickey
someone.
Mantle's bat?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I forget where the beginning of that question was. I kind of went down that, I was following you down that. Um,
No, but that's
yeah, the
great.
thing
That's a
with
great answer.
Goodman was, I mean, obviously it wasn't a gift to me, but we spent that evening, we spent that evening, uh, we'd gone out to dinner at Sperry's, which is this place in Belmead, sort of a suburb of Nashville, if you don't know. And um, we went back to the house and got out the guitars, but I had this little guitar, a small body guitar, a very special instrument. So he wanted to try that, and then he said, here. He put Goodman's guitar in my hands, and
Mhm.
I was kind of shocked, you know. It was, and so for the rest of the evening, I played Steve's guitar, Steve Goodman's guitar, and John played mine. Yeah, so it kind of felt almost like I don't know, what would you say, like a initiation or something? I don't know, blood
Yeah,
brother thing,
right, exactly. And timing
you
too
know?
has a lot to do with life, doesn't it?
It sure does. It sure does. I noticed there are people asking questions on there. I can take another
Oh,
couple questions if they're.
oh, sure. Oh my goodness, I didn't even notice. Sorry about that.
There were like little.
Um,
Is that a chat?
um, in addition to covering significant parts of John's life, the book covered your relationship in the process of writing the book itself. What was the thinking or thought process to open up on that aspect of your time with John?
What a good question that is. It was a very difficult book for me to write. One of the hardest books I've had to write. And the reason, you know, for the first couple of months I was working on that book, I was kind of like, I was sort of with John in a funny kind of way. In other words, which I mean, it was sort of like, okay, audience, y'all are out there. You're going to watch me and John have fun. Okay? Just, and then it was like that. That was the mindset in a way that I was working from, but not consciously, but I saw later that that was what, and it was because I didn't want to say goodbye to John. You know, I mean, I didn't want John to become this other thing that was in part of the past, you know. And I realized that what I was doing, I was I had to say goodbye to John on a fundamental level. It was very painful. I didn't want to have that pain. And at the base of all of it was I didn't want to have to deal with the fact of mortality. It was very heavy. I don't think I've had I haven't had another friend who passed who I felt as close to, you know, as John. It was difficult, you know. So I was kind of like almost like doing whatever I could do to kind of not end up there, you know. But I found, and my editor was very, very, very insightful. My editor at Norton Publisher was insightful, and he was pushing me to do something that was uncomfortable for me. And sometimes his specific suggestions weren't suggestions I would adapt in and of themselves, but they were pointing me towards something that I saw I see. This is something that needs to, and it need for me too, to have to confront it and deal with it, and that's what the whole back end of the book is about, really. Is that, and I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of splashing around here but in other words, basically, I had to let go of one posture and be with the people who I knew were going to be reading the book and open my own self uh, to grief and loss and love and gratitude, on a level that I don't know that I think I was fighting doing that, because coming along with all that goes pain and sorrow and loss. And also, yeah, gratitude. But it's a big old plate full of all kinds of different ingredients.
That's so beautifully put. Thank you. I mean, you really, as I said in the interview, I feel like you were meant to meet each other, and for whatever reason, I think he was just
Really?
it's just interesting how it all shook out. And just one more question before you go.
Sure, sure, sure.
Um,
hmm
it says, she says, or he says, any stories come to mind that did not make it into the book? And Missy said, I appreciated that the story wasn't chronological history. And she said she also enjoyed reading about Cowboy, which how could you not love that? So yeah, if
Oh
anything
man,
comes to mind.
cowboy. Um, Probably. Sometimes I'm not too great at retrieving these things on the spur of the moment. I'm thinking about the car trip, stories that didn't make it into the book. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to take a pass. I don't want to disappoint the person who asked
No,
that
no
question, but
problem at all. No problem at all. I have one question before you go
give me another question.
about Cowboy because
Give me another question. What the heck?
Missy brought up Cowboy. I just wanted to ask, I thought you did a really beautiful job. And if for those who haven't read the book, Cowboy was, I think, somebody who worked with Sam Phillips and was a big producer.
Yep.
And anyway, what was it like to be? I thought you did a good job of exploring that, to be back in that. It almost felt very haunted in his house
It
back
was,
then.
yeah. Not haunted in a bad way, but you're right.
No.
It was like a presence. Yeah.
And
Well,
also,
I mean,
before you answer that, I just want to say that Michael said, I was recently at the Sanger Theater while there for Jazz Fest. I love that theater to know so many famous musicians have passed through there. I came to know John Prine later in life, so I'll definitely read your book to get to know John's life more. So thank you for that, Michael.
great. Thank you, Michael.
Sorry, I cut you off as I asked you the
Um,
question about Cowboy.
no, no. Yeah, Cowboy was this larger than, well, I don't know how many of you all, or have read the book or haven't read the book. Cowboy Jack Clement was a record producer, a songwriter, and he was sort of the second command to the great Sam Phillips, who founded Sun Records in Memphis, um, where, and he brought Carl Perkins to the recording studio, Jerry Lee Lewis. He recorded all these seminal figures from early rock and roll. And he was just this amazing, just sort of outsized character. He had been a dance instructor for Arthur Murray. You got to be of a certain age to appreciate it. But anyway, he was just remarkable. There are videos of him dancing with women, like with a wine glass balanced on his head. It's just everything he did in a big way. And he moved to Nashville eventually, and produced some of the sort of seminal records of that time by Waylon Jennings and all these different folks. And so John came to know Cowboy and really kind of adopted him as a sort of surrogate father after his own father died. John's father died like within a couple months of his. Actually, I think his father died just before because there's that lyric from Mexican Home. My father died on the porch outside on August afternoon.
The same day as your
And
dad,
that
right?
was,
Different year, but
say
same
what
day.
now?
The
Same
same
thing with
day as
my,
your dad.
yeah. Yes, that's right, but a different year. And that was one of the weird things when we were driving along and we were talking about mortality toward the end of the drive that first day when we were hanging out. And yeah, it was. I was starting to tell him because we were talking about mortality. I said, yeah, I was going to tell him this story about. I said when my dad died, there was this big, and he said on August, and I said it was August 16th, and he said, wait a minute, what did you just say? I said my father died on August 16th. He said that's the day that my father died, and it was we both kind of went. That was a little weird. And there was a whole series of um, yeah, things like that, that were sort of part of the thing even before we knew each other. Anyway, I hate to do this.
No,
I
no,
should
no,
probably go
please.
back because these folks are leaving this place. I'm so flattered and pleased that you all asked me to participate. I wish I could be there with you, and I wish I could see all of you. I'm just seeing a couple of you, but thank you so much for the honor of inviting me to do this. And Polly, it's been just such a pleasure, talking with you and doing that interview and everything. And thank you so much.
Oh my gosh.
I hope you all get a chance to read the book, and I hope you all listen to a whole bunch of John Prine music after you get off the call, and just enjoy John because he'll cheer you up on a rainy day. He'll cheer you up on a sunny day too. He's really good for rainy days.
Thank you so much,
It's
Tom.
true.
Thank you for taking the time. Seriously, we really
Thanks,
appreciate you.
Polly. It's my pleasure.
Oh my gosh.
Thanks,
Have a
everybody.
great rest of your time there.
Thank you so much. All right. Thanks,
See
Polly.
you later.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Okay. That was so nice. If you're still here, and have just joined, I'm Polly Simpkins, and that was the wonderful Tom Piazza talking about his book. And thank you to everyone for listening and for chiming in and for asking questions. And yeah, if anybody who's read the book has anything to say about it, would love to hear. We have some time left, 15 more minutes if you want to share some of your thoughts or comments, or if you have an aha moment about music that you'd like to share, would love to hear that as well.
Well, I can share something. Hi, can you hear me?
Great. Yes.
All
Hi.
right. This is Titus in Fairhaven, Massachusetts.
Hi, Titus.
Um, I loved the sections about Gulfport, Florida, where John had his like second home. And my wife and I were actually in Gulfport this April for April vacation. And we missed like the annual John Prine Hello in There Foundation festival by like one weekend. I didn't even know it was a thing until we went and saw the old posters and we realized, oh, we missed that. That's too bad. But they have like there's a little mural of John there and it's just a cool, funky little neighborhood basically in St. Pete, Florida or outside of it. It's very
Oh,
cool. I suggest everybody goes there at some point if you're in Florida. But yeah, we were of course we had just read the book like a month or two ago, and so we were thinking like, oh, maybe they walked down this street, maybe
yeah,
they ate
totally.
at this restaurant. It was just fun.
Oh, that is so fun. How far is it from, is it like a suburb of St. Pete, of St.
Yeah, it's like I don't know, probably 30 minutes or less from the St. Pete city,
Mm.
and same distance from St. Pete Beach, but it's like south facing. So it's like kind of away, opposite side from like Tampa, which is north.
Oh,
Um,
and were
but
you John Prine fans, like going way back?
well, we've been fans for maybe 5 years now, not 5 or 6 years, not too far back. We've more so discovered him late, kind of like Tom was saying. Like that really resonated with me. Like we, of course, had heard some of the bigger songs over the years, but um, it's been really cool to discover his music, buy his albums, buy his vinyl, watch the YouTube videos and stuff. There's a lot of great YouTube of John Prine out there. So we've been doing that like probably for the last couple years
Yeah.
and getting into him like deeper,
Yeah. And I
still
like,
continue to learn new things
right.
and new songs. Yeah.
He is someone you can come to whenever. And I like how Tom said right before he left, like he'll make you feel good because I feel like John Prine does make you feel good. It just makes you feel like everything's okay. And, he's just such a nice person. It just restores my faith in humanity sometimes listening to him. Thank you so much.
Polly, if I could just add on to that comment, I live in the St. Pete area and I work in St. Pete. So and we're really lucky because the both of the documentaries came to our area because of John's footprint here. So it was really super cool. We're able to see one in April and then just one maybe about 10 days ago came to it at the other theater. So it was really wonderful. If you guys have a chance to go see it, I highly recommend it,
And
both
is it,
especially I
and what
think it
is
was
it?
at,
What's the name of it?
well, there was two, right? The first one was at Beach Theater called, I think it was a You've Got Gold.
You've Got Gold, right.
And that was really wonderful. It was all the different artists that, that have covered his songs and all, and just, loving on him with, that was so emotional and wonderful. Really enjoyed that. And then about a week or so ago, the what's the other How Lucky Can One Man Get? And that was
Oh, I
basically
know.
his concert at his high school, right? And that
Hmm.
was really great too. Just so if you guys have an opportunity, and it's actually coming, that one's coming back through again in St. Pete in July at some point. So I know Florida in July doesn't have the draw that Martha's Vineyard in July has, but it might be worth, little. I think it's playing about 3 nights in St. Pete if anybody's in the area here.
Oh,
But it
that's
was,
great.
I love the book is on the first page to talk about Gulfport. And that's, just a really short distance. Sometimes at lunchtime, I'll go down to the Piazza restaurant that, that the
Wow.
book talked about. So it was really super cool. Really
Oh my
enjoyed it. So
gosh.
yeah, it was
Thank
nice.
you. And thanks for letting us know about the movies. I know You've Got Gold is coming back to the Vineyard as part of the Music Film Festival at the Film Society. So, but I've heard nothing but great things about it. And it's so fun hearing from somebody who's like right there.
Yeah. I didn't know about the festival, though. We'll have to check it out. That's great.
Yeah, definitely. It's
So thank
really,
you for that.
yeah, of
Yeah.
course. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thanks.
And someone has their raised hand. It's iPhone. Are you there, iPhone?
Hi, it's Erin in Chicago. How are
Hi,
you?
Aaron.
Good to see everybody. In the same vein as some of the other comments, the book was relatable. I have family that still lives in adjacent suburbs to Maywood, where John grew up, even family that went to his same high school. So it was just so relatable. And also the description of his father. My father was a very similar character to his, it sounds like. A
Oh.
slight age gap, but not huge. And so it was just really, really fun to read that and kind of laugh that Tom tried to take him out for a fancy hot dog in New Orleans, but that's not how we roll up here, you know.
Exactly.
And then also just to mention, there's an 80th birthday celebration of John Prine coming at the Chicago Theater coming up in the fall that the tickets just went on sale for, and there are a lot of significant musicians coming to be.
Wow.
So
Where is that being held? Do you know?
at Chicago Theater,
At Chicago Theater. Okay.
yeah. So if anybody so chooses to sojourn to Chicago, that might be something really fun to do. But really enjoyed the book. I also spend a lot of time in New Orleans, so kind of fun to hear Tom's background and stories about the singer as well.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much, Aaron, and thanks
Yeah,
for joining.
yeah,
Always love
absolutely.
hearing from you. And that sounds really fun. That'll be a great time.
Yeah. Mhm.
And then I think Is it Steph? Oh, oh, is it Titus or yes, with a long I? Titus?
Oh yeah, I'm
Yeah.
Titus. Hi.
He said, forgot to say MVY Radio truly introduced us to John's music, the Tree of Forgiveness album. I agree.
Yeah.
Such a beautiful record. Oh my gosh.
And thank you all, like the DJs, for playing him, because that's really like the gateway for us. And then from there, we would go and like learn more.
Yeah,
But
learn more. Exactly. And it's interesting you should mention a Tree of Forgiveness because Tony asked me, and we should have talked to Tom about this, Tony, but Tony, I had asked you if you had any questions for Tom. And one of the questions was, what about I Remember Everything, the song that was released after his death? And I did ask him that, Tony, and he said he didn't knew nothing about it. He hadn't heard anything about it. He didn't. I don't know if I've told you this already, but he said it was quite a surprise that they released that after his death, and he had recorded it quite close to the end of his life. Um, was it Dave Cobb who produced it? I read about it, but I want to say a shout out to Fiona Prine and the Prine estate. I feel the same way about Tom Petty's estate. They just have done a really beautiful job of releasing music and releasing just very tastefully the music that John would have wanted to share, including I Remember Everything. So thank you for that question, Tony. So yeah. And I like that he talked about the just his own grief, Tom, and the sadness of saying goodbye to him. And he was in the middle of writing the memoir, and then it became the book it is because it kind of abruptly ended. But I feel like Tom gave John such joy toward the end of his life by being that friend he could hang out with and use his best friend's guitar and just drive around with. Like, I feel like they both really fulfilled a role for each other. Anybody else? This is such a fun conversation. Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, I got a real sense of why Tom and John hit it off. Tom is a very kind of down home, engaging person with a real great sense of humor and a humility about him, and that really it mirrors John Prine's personality and what I've always thought about John Prine, and the sense of humor and the down homeness really came through. Uh, I also remember when I first found John Prine. It was back when the first album came out. I walked into a record store and I knew the proprietor. He says, "You got to hear this record." And I heard Angel from Montgomery and Sam Stone and Paradise and Hello in there. I walked out. It was unbelievable. I mean, it was very early on. The record had just come out, and I said, "Wow!" and I've been a fan ever since. It was a real great moment. Remembered very well.
That's like that implosion, like he was talking about,
Yep.
for
Yep.
sure. And I
Yeah.
agree with you about his humility, and it's hard because he can't say he would never, Tom Piazza would never say, well, I'm a cool guy and I'm
Yeah. Right.
a
Yeah.
good
Yeah. Yeah.
hang. But it's so true. He has that sense. And when
Yeah.
he talks about how John Prine was good at sizing people up, I think John knew really early on, like, I like this guy
This is a good guy. Yeah. This is a good guy.
for sure. Anyone else? I know a lot of people are cooking dinner and hanging out, but it's so nice to have you all and to celebrate someone like John Prine. I did do a playlist of all of the songs in order from the book. That's on the website at mvyradio.org/book club. And it includes a bunch of songs that aren't just John Prine songs, but songs that were mentioned. And it was like meticulous. It was really fun actually going through it. And because he talks about a lot of music and the music that inspired John. And I really like that playlist if you get a chance to check it out. What about you, Mark? Calling in from East Greenwich, Rhode Island here.
Sorry, there we go. I love the book, and I think we were lucky that they hit it off so well, and they were able to share that with us and let us get to know John a little better. Um, yes, it was great. He reminds me a little of the Will Rogers of today, though. I'm not, all that familiar with the Will Rogers of yesterday, but just the storytelling and the humor, and yeah, yeah, I really enjoyed it, and
Oh,
yeah,
good.
I do feel lucky that that Tom was able to, and Fiona saw that how well they hit it off, and she probably suggested it to him maybe. Someone certainly needed to capture it, right? So I think we were lucky that Tom could.
Good point. Yeah, there's a confluence of things that happen to make it all come together like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And we're the lucky beneficiaries.
that's right. Thank you. Good seeing you. I'm wondering if anybody's seen Treme, the HBO show that he writes. I've never seen it. It's about New Orleans. Does anybody here know of it? I think it's by the same people who did The Wire.
Yes, it's very good.
Is it?
I
Oh,
mean, that's just my opinion. Yeah, I enjoyed it very much.
oh, good to know. Is it intense? I imagine it because the thinking of The Wire, I thought maybe it's a little heavy. Is it like that?
Probably less heavy than that. A little lighter and just enjoyable. And if you spend time there at all, again, it's relatable.
Oh,
Um,
good.
yeah, not overly heavy, I wouldn't say.
Okay. And Treme
Good drama.
is
Treme
a
is a neighborhood in New Orleans. It's
okay.
just adjacent to the French Quarter, which has experienced since Katrina a lot of um, redevelopment, if you will.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Oh,
But
that's
it's
good.
it's historically though it is also a place of inception of a lot of music. So it's good. I enjoy it.
Oh, good. Thank you. That's
Mhm.
good to know. We
Mhm.
got some good tips tonight, some good recommendations of stuff to watch. Those movies um and I appreciate all of you bringing your what you love. Thanks for
and
showing up.
sharing.
And
As
once again,
always,
we'll
what
be
you've been
resuming
seeing
back
and
in
the love of
September,
John
on
Prine.
September
So
23rd. And this is a really great book if you're a Bowie fan or you're just familiar with his music, but there's all these interviews with new people and people who are connected to him, and he did a really beautiful job. So I hope you'll join us back. It's kind of sad to say goodbye, but thanks. I can't say it enough, but if you listen to MVY Radio regularly, we love you and we're very grateful for you. And the station is very special that way. And this book club has been that way, an opportunity for all of us just to hang out, whether you're cooking dinner or sitting across the world as Nancy is in Kazakhstan. Thank you, Nancy, for showing up
Mhm.
so far away, but as I always say, the music connects us, and this is a wonderful example of that. So thank you. And once again, thanks to everyone who's watching this recording at another time. We appreciate you, and MVY would never be the same without you. And thanks to Joe again for tech support. Okay, guys, until we meet again on the path, safe travels. Thanks for listening to the music, and we'll see you next time.